are live. Welcome, everybody, to the show. We are your hosts, Chase and Myles.
Yo.
We are at the Lucky Duck. Myles, who do we got on today?
All right, today our guest is another OG Florida man.
Guys, what is going on here?
Yo, sorry, dude.
Get the fuck out of my seat.
You weren't sitting here before, so I just thought I could.
Oh, I literally
I could do it.
noticed that.
Could you not tell the difference?
No, you're both like really brown. It's like dark in here.
Are you sure you want to do it?
No,
I-
you can do it.
Okay. All right.
No pressure.
Sorry, folks. We had a little bit of a mix-up. It seems that Russell just crashed the podcast a little bit. No worries. Myles, the real Myles, who do we get on today?
Finally. Today, our guest is another OG Florida man. We met him all the way back in high school. From there, we kept in contact, catching up year after year. In the past few years, he's been living in St. Louis, attending chiropractic school, and living with his amazing girlfriend and pet dogs. He's one of the most positive and energetic people I've ever met. This is AJ.
Hello, everybody.
Welcome to the show,
Yeah.
my friend.
I'm very happy to be here.
Now, for all you listeners, we just want to wish you a Merry Christmas. This isn't, it's not Christmas yet here, but we're releasing this on Christmas. So we are drinking some spiked eggnog. AJ is not.
No.
Because he doesn't like eggnog.
No, I don't.
That's a sacrificial sin.
It's
of-
okay.
You don't
guys
like
can beat
drinking
me up in the
eggs?
comments.
Yeah.
This is weird.
Yeah.
He's drinking Oscar Blues Dale's Pale Ale. It's a local brew. Very
really good.
Very good. AJ actually brought us some beer from St.
Oh,
Louis.
true.
It's pretty nice. What did you bring, AJ?
So this is my favorite local brewery in St. Louis, and it's called Schlafly.
Schlafly?
Yeah, Schlafly.
That's a cool name.
Yeah, they're a really cool spot.
That's a German brewery then, like German inspired.
Yeah,
I'm
so
guessing?
it's owned by a German.
okay.
Nice.
Yeah. It was
Nice.
yeah. A guy
I work with
immigrated-
Germans.
No, it was apparently from the story they told, and I'm probably gonna get it wrong, but this like the most I remember. A lawyer who lived in St. Louis met someone who immigrated from Germany to America,
Okay.
and then they formed it together, and now it is what it is today.
Nice.
Nice. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So, what are you doing here? This was kind of like last minute planned, it seemed like, or
Oh.
at least Russell hit me up a little last minute. Didn't even tell me you guys are coming through town. How dare you?
Yeah.
So please explain what's going on. What are you
By
guys
the way,
doing?
Russell was on one of the last in fact, the last podcast?
I think so.
No, he'll be on a future one, I think.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's good. Yeah. So just real quick for us to get this out of the way. Russell and I are terrible at remembering who we have as friends that we can invite on things to do. So it never even crossed our minds that like, oh yeah, we're going to be driving by Denver, because Russell also thought that from St. Louis to Jackson Hole, Wyoming was only 8 hours.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, he thought that for a solid like 2 weeks until I told him like 3 days before we were supposed to do everying.
He
And
has the
was just like,
geography
Nice.
knowledge of like a second grader.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
like, we're in Kansas now? What?
So, so we just completely spaced it. And then, we were just plotting out the route and everything like that. And then we were just like, oh, we should just stop in Denver for the night. And then he's like, oh, well, let me hit up Chase, see if he wants us to come over, say hi, because of everything going on currently because of COVID. And
Yeah.
then,
And the podcast was born.
yeah, now we're here.
Boom.
Yeah.
Nice.
Welcome. Yeah, we're actually really excited to have you on because you have a pretty interesting life story. And
Yeah, everyone says that.
I don't know. You
Is it
always tell me
offensive,
some things,
or-
and I'm
Okay.
No,
you always
I
tell
don't get
me
offended.
snippets or like anecdotes from your life, and I'm just like, what the that's not normal, man. So let's kind of get into that a little bit. Tell us your life story.
From the beginning.
Oh,
Yeah.
from the
Where you're
beginning?
born.
Oh, it's okay.
It all started with my mom and my dad.
Yeah, there we go. No, that's actually a story in itself. But so I was born in Omaha, Nebraska, and I lived there till I was about 4. And my parents never like had a stable relationship. My dad and my mom both abused substances, whether it was alcohol or crank, which is like a mix of crack and speed.
Nice.
So my mom would like do that, and then it's actually really funny. My mom would do that with my aunt,
Okay.
She would come over, my Aunt Joy, and they would
Super funny.
they would do the crank, and my cousin and I would go to sleep, and I had a race car bed. And I was like 3 at the time, and they were just jacked up. So they came into my room and reorganized everything, and then the next morning I woke up freaking out because I was like, my race car bed moves. So I ran into the room, like made a big deal. So
That's awesome.
Yeah. So, but you know, my parents abused drugs, and their relationship was just not a good one.
Yeah.
And my mom was trying to overcome like hard drugs. This is before she started drinking heavily. So my grandfather told her to come move to Florida, where he lived. So at pretty much like 2 months before I turned 5, we went to Florida.
So do you remember Omaha at all?
Yeah,
Besides the race car bed?
Yeah, no, I've been back to Omaha a lot because majority of my family still lives there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so
Nice.
yeah, I was just in Omaha like a month and a half ago. But yeah, so so we moved to Florida, and we were there for a little while, and then my papa decided to. Sorry, for my 5th birthday, he decided to send me to Disney World. So we went to Disney World, and my dad came down for that. And that was like the first time I saw him in like 2 months because he ended up staying in Nebraska because they were kind of like taking a break.
Yeah. From the drugs and the relationship.
Yeah, from the relationship. They should have just taken a permanent break, but you know,
Yeah.
it is what it is. So then my dad ended up moving to Florida with my brother and my sister, and then also with their mom. So they came down and they lived here for a little while, and my parents were still dealing with like their own stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then at like 12 years old, they were like, okay, well, we're going to like finally separate. And I was like, thank God.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm
finally.
sure that wasn't easy, like growing up with your parents dealing with all that bullshit and going through the struggle of trying to cope with a fragile relationship, as it seems like.
Yeah, you know, it's actually really interesting. I think it's like hitting me harder now that like I'm an adult. But like as a kid, I didn't really like pay attention to it too much. I was just like, oh, this is like my life.
Especially
overall.
since it started when, I mean, from what you can remember, what, 5,
Well, I mean, not
6
to get
years
like
old?
too heavy for you guys, but like my first like actual physical memory is my parents getting into like a physical fight and my dad like beating her up and down a hallway because my dad would get blackout drunk and then my mom would get really mad at him and then start hitting him and he's blacked out.
Yeah.
So
Recipe for disaster.
absolute disaster. So, but yeah, no, I was just like, you know, this is my life, you know, and I also like got really lucky or blessed or whatever you want to call it because my grandfather did really well money wise. So I didn't ever like, even with all of the problems that my parents were having, like I never went without financially until later. But so I never had to really worry about that. So I think that kind of helped in the early years. So then, yeah, we moved there. They finally broke up after, you know, many other fights and just bullshit after bullshit. So they did that, and I'm about 12. And then so my dad stayed in Florida for about another 2 years. And then he moved back to Nebraska with my sister. So then I didn't see my dad for probably like 4 years.
Wow.
Because my mom's like really spiteful.
Yeah.
Like, this
were you
makes my
close
mom
to your
sound
dad?
really bad,
Like,
but-
you guys talk or
What?
were you close to your dad?
Oh yeah,
At that
no,
time?
my
Yeah.
dad was like my best friend.
Okay.
Yeah, so like yeah, so my dad was like my best friend. We were really close. We would like, you know, watch movies all the time.
Yeah.
Watch football, like everything like that. Like
Huskers football?
yeah, Huskers football, of
nice.
course. We would do everything together. You know, we always had a great time. Like my dad was abused as a kid, which carried over into his life, which is why he had his problems. So he was like really good to me and to my brother and to my sister, you know, as good as he could be with dealing with an addiction. So I always had fun with him and I always wanted to live with him like long term. And now looking back, I can understand like why it wasn't good. And my brother did live with him his whole life, and it kind of took my brother's childhood because my brother would like give up going to friends' houses or doing things with his friends to make sure my dad didn't like drink and vomit in his sleep and die.
Yeah.
So
Did you ever talk to your dad about the issues that he had with your mom and stuff like that during that time when you were younger?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So my parents were like open book with me, and they would always just tell me exactly what's going on. And my mom was like spiteful. So like she would get into an argument with my dad. She's like, well, now you can't go see your dad for a week. So like I would be like, oh. So then it kind of made me resent my mom.
Yeah.
Even though, because it was just, bullshit on the reason she didn't want me to go.
Right.
And, so it was just dealing with all that petty stuff. And like, he would talk to me all about it all the time. He's like, I'm really sorry that you're in this situation. He's like, I wish I could be better. And I wish your mom could be better, but we just are who we are right now. So, and everybody who I was around as a young kid was also addicts. So being around addicts like my entire life, I have a comfort with them, or like an understanding to where like I don't look at them like,
you don't judge them as hard, probably.
yeah, it's not even like judge. It's just like I do feel like comfortable around them, and like I understand them.
Yeah.
So like I don't like I can't get mad at somebody for dealing with something that's no longer in their control. In the sense of like, it's hard to explain without having addiction, and a lot of people are like, oh, you just need to stop, like it's that easy. And it's just like, it's really not, especially when you don't get to the root of why you drink or why you do drugs and all those other things, because you're not really dealing with the problem. So
you're using drugs to kind of skate around.
Yeah, and it all becomes like subconscious. But yeah, so like, but now in like my later life, I'm starting to notice how those addictive personalities and like just that whole entire environment I was around, like that, it's kind of like negatively affected me overall, in the sense of like I am not an alcoholic, but I have like a food addiction overall. So like I use food as like comfort, because like I guess my life was just so out of control as a kid. The only thing I could control is what I was eating, things like that. So like I've been dealing with that and like just trying to realize that. And then also like I think I'm having, I don't want to say PTSD, because I feel like that does disrespect to like real people who've gone through like aggressive trauma, but I do feel that I'm having like residual anxiety problems from it. Now, this also could just be stemming from the fact that like I haven't been financially stable since I was like 14 when my grandfather died. But still, like 3 years ago, I broke down in the middle of Walmart.
Oh.
Like not to get like super into mental health and stuff, but
no, it's fine.
Yeah,
We've done mental health on the podcast.
Yeah, so I broke down in like a Walmart, and that was like the first time I've cried since I was like 11.
Wow.
Yeah, like so like
just out of nowhere it hit you, like you're
yeah,
feeling like...
I was in an argument with my mom. She was just being ridiculous, because my mom has like undiagnosed bipolar disorder, and she won't, especially with her drinking before, because she's 12 years sober now.
Wow.
Which is kudos to her.
Congrats to your mom.
Obviously. And she does a lot to support me, especially now that I'm in school. So like without her, I wouldn't really be able to do majority of the things that I do, such as like pay rent or come on this trip, or, eat.
Sure.
Yeah.
So, but she does have her own problems, and we have like a history. So I get upset at her very easily and, lash out. So it's just not a good mix sometimes. But yeah, she was just doing that. So in the middle of the Walmart, I just got really upset, and it just happened.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, to get back to my dad, he moved away. I didn't see him for like 4 years. And then my mom actually ended up going to jail because she was on probation for 15 years for
15-year probation.
Yeah. It sounds
God.
bad, but she actually got really lucky. So instead of doing a year of being in a federal penitentiary, she got 15 years of probation, and then after it's all done, it gets wiped away. She was she was part of an embezzlement, not in the sense that she was doing it. She just knew it was happening, and the lady gave her money off the top. My mom hasn't always made the best decisions. My grandfather spoiled the shit out of her as a child, so it just grew into a monster. Right. So
was that also around when she was addicted to some of the?
She didn't
drugs?
really actually start heavily drinking until my grandfather died. Yeah, there's a lot of other stuff with that, but
Okay.
so she didn't really heavily drink until then, and then she just kind of fell off the deep end, and then that's like when we went homeless. But before we get there, so she went to jail for like 2 weeks, so I was by myself, and I was like 15 at the time
In Florida.
and I was staying at a house that was near the Coastland Center Mall. It was like in those little park areas, pretty close to like Fleshman Park.
Yeah, Naples, Florida.
Yeah,
For
Naples,
all you
Florida.
listeners.
Yeah, so I was staying over there like by myself, and so she was away for like 2 weeks, And then she got released because it was for a violation of probation. So like your first violation, you only have to go away for a small amount of time. So she went away for 2 weeks, and then that 2 weeks was good for her because that's what started her becoming sober. And then there were people who there was another girl who lived in the house, and her mom called DCF because I'm a 15-year-old kid. My mom's in jail. I'm living in a house. I don't know how I'm gonna like pay rent. I don't have money for food, type of deal. So she called DCF, and then my mom got out of jail, and then I got put on a bus to go back to Nebraska, and I lived with my brother's mom, Denise, who I call Aunt Niece, which I know is weird, but I was the youngest of everybody who was involved in our family, and everyone called her Aunt Niece, so it was a lot easier for me to just also do that.
Yeah.
So,
Are you the only sibling from your mom?
yeah, I'm my mom's only child.
And then you have a brother, half brother, sister?
Yeah, I have a half brother, and then my sister isn't biologically related to me. She is my brother's daughter with another man, but she's my sister
Okay.
because I've known her my entire life.
Wow.
Basically, my dad adopted her. She's a whole nother story too, but either way. So I go back to Nebraska, and I stay in Nebraska for about a year. And during this time, I get to like hang out with my dad again. But my dad's drinking has gotten really, 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 really bad, to the point to where he went from somebody who's like my size, like 220 pounds, to like 145.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and
That's weird how he lost weight.
Yeah, well,
When you I feel like
he went jaundice 3 times, so his liver failed on him 3 times and then came back.
Holy crap.
Yeah, so his body was put through a lot of trauma, so he just ended up losing weight.
Yeah.
Because he lost the weight in the hospital, and then when he came out, he couldn't give it.
Wow.
Yeah, so I was, hanging out with him more, which was great, but he still didn't have his drinking under control, and it kind of got to the point to where he never was going to. Like, you kind of just see the writing on the wall.
Yeah.
So, like, I asked him many times, I was like, well, why do you, like, have to drink? Like, I was like, because if you drink, you're going to die, and then you're not going to be here for your grandkids. Like, you're not going to be here, for me and weddings, like all this other stuff. And he's like, I don't know what to do. He's like, I don't know what to tell you. He's like, I'm sorry, things like that. Mm-hmm. And so at that point, like, I kind of just like, pretty much my dad died at that point in the sense of like who he is, because then he just became a full blown like addict, like, for lack of a better phrase or anything, like what you would see as a crackhead on the street.
Okay.
So yeah, so he would still drink. Like, he was stealing like lawnmowers and like stuff like that from other people's houses to take it to a pawn shop to get booze money and stuff. So anyways, he kept drinking and then eventually lost his leg. I eventually moved back to Florida.
Shit, he lost his leg from.
Yeah, because he became diabetic
Gotcha.
from drinking, and then his continual drinking, he lost his leg.
That was when you were living with your aunt?
No, that's when I moved back to
When
Florida.
you moved back, right?
Yeah, this is when I moved back to Florida. And then
How old were you when you moved back?
It was only a year later, so I was like
okay.
16.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
I was actually only going to come back for a week because I really didn't want to come live with my mom because things were actually going really good back in Nebraska, like overall. And like my mom was just now freshly getting sober, and I'd already been through all this with my dad. I was like, is this really going to be something, like, do I want to put myself going through like this type of thing again? And then I came back and I saw that she was actually doing really well. And I was actually in the airport to head back with Russell. He was there to head back to Nebraska. And I was like, well, I just don't want to go. So then I just ended up staying here from here on out.
Wow.
In Florida.
In Florida. Sorry,
Yeah.
not Colorado. But so I just ended up staying there in Florida from there on out. But yeah, my dad's drinking just continued to be a thing. He ended up living with my brother for a little bit, and then that relationship, like, he ruined that relationship as well, or being able to stay at the house.
Yeah.
So he did that, and then, he lost his leg, and then he was living in homeless shelters for
Wow.
pretty much the rest of his life. And then on like January 9th of 2015, he died in a McDonald's parking lot.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
his heart just stopped beating.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Sorry to hear that,
Oh,
first off. I didn't
yeah.
know that.
No, it's
Yeah,
all
that's
good.
crazy. I
Yeah,
didn't know
it's
that
all
either.
Yeah, so then, obviously I went back to Nebraska,
Mm-hmm.
and I was there for, he got cremated, and we had like a whole thing. So that was, really nice overall.
Well, no, that doesn't sound nice. I think you're.
Did you kind of feel some closure when he died, or was it worse for you?
So I've always had a very like interesting relationship with death, right? Or with people like no longer like existing, in the sense of like I feel everything that needed to be said has been said. I've never really felt
Like you left stuff.
yeah,
on
like
the
I left
page.
stuff behind because I'm pretty open with people about like how I feel or like who I am.
Yeah, that's why I think we, all of us, really appreciate your friend because you're authentic.
Yeah, I try to be, so I appreciate that. But so I've never really felt like there's anything left unsaid. Like my grandfather, I watched him get taken off of life support when I was like 13, and this was after like his 5th heart attack and stuff like that. And it was like, my nana was like, we don't want to pull the plug. My aunt was like that. My mom was like that. And I was like, guys, like, what are you doing? Like it's time to like just let go and like move on. So we did that, and then my nana unfortunately kind of just died of a broken heart.
Oh.
Yeah, so she already was kind of having like early onset dementia, and then once he passed away, she just like let herself go.
Yeah, I've heard that. It's a thing.
Yeah. So so she actually came to Columbia, Missouri, where my mom's sister lived, and lived out the rest of her days here at a retirement, or rest of the days there at a retirement home. But yeah, no, like my grandparents were awesome. I spent a ridiculous amount of time with them because of my mother's issues and stuff like that. And she also worked in restaurants. So a lot of times like my nana would have to come pick me up from practice or, I'd have to go stay at their house for a little while. So like, and my nana was like a gangster. So like I would get in trouble at school, and like I would do a lot of like sketchy stuff. Cause I went to a private school, and one time we would go to my mom would take me to school, and we would go to a gas station before because she would get coffee there, and I got donuts. So I got glazed chocolate donuts and powdered donuts, and I ate the chocolate donuts and I left the glazed or the powdered ones in my pocket. And then about second period, I went into the bathroom and I was washing my hands, and then I like saw that something was in my pocket because I forgot it was there, and I saw it, and I decided to take the donuts out and put it under my nose and then walk out of the bathroom and do a deep inhale and just be like, whoo, let's go. And the dean of students was there. He's like, just go home. So
I love how you started that, and you were like, because I went to private school, or you said, what would you say? You said I did a lot of stupid shit because I went to private school.
Yeah.
I wonder if there's something into that, because I feel like maybe because the whole stigma is like Catholic girls go crazy when they get released. Maybe it's like there's a bit of I guess teenage angst that gets built up when you're kind of in
I
a
think it is because a lot of
setting.
private schools are a lot more strict.
Yeah.
And when you're a teenager or whatever, you just want freedom.
Yeah, the biggest problem with private schools, especially religion-based ones, especially like Catholic schools, is
We went to Catholic school, yeah.
They don't talk to you about like, I guess what they would consider taboo things.
Yeah, true.
And they don't talk to you about like how the real world works. They talk to you about how the Christian bubble works.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like I grew up in an environment that none of these kids did. So, and I just do things that I think are going to be funny. And literally maybe 2 people understood what I did when I got outside, and one of them was the dean, and the other one was just the only person who I hung out with at the school because we were kind of similar in backstory.
Yeah.
I wonder if the dean was like, nice.
Oh,
Go home. But go home.
We're actually friends now. His name's Mr. Byer, and he had like a huge impact on me
Oh, no
for my
way.
life. Yeah, no, he helped me out a lot because I would get in trouble a lot. So he'd be the person I would talk to.
You
This
knew
is
your
a private
family.
school in Nebraska?
No, in
Okay.
Naples.
Which
It was
one?
Royal Palm Academy.
Oh, what?
Did you guys go there?
Yeah.
When?
What?
Did you go in the
Shit.
trailers?
Yeah.
Yes.
No way.
What the fuck?
Wait,
You were in a cult?
Literally, that school was run by a cult.
We have a whole podcast on this.
Yeah.
Oh
Sorry.
yeah. No, you're good.
It's called the Legionnaires
Jesuits.
of Christ.
Yeah.
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 So,
It's a cult.
Yeah.
that's-
They
that
got
is
in trouble
insane.
for
yeah.
fucking kids the most.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, I know.
Father
Yeah.
Marcel is the leader. Was the leader. He died. Was like excommunicated. In fact, we're having my dad was one of like the founding members of Royal
Well,
Palm
then do you guys
Academy.
remember Mr. Byer?
I was too
know.
young.
He was the really tall
We
6'4"
went there
dude.
when we were
With-
in like first grade.
It went
or
like the
something
very
that.
first. So
I
it
was there for
was
middle school.
it was yeah. So you went after we did. So it must because we
actually,
went.
hold on. I went there when Royal Palm first opened up, not at the location off of Pine Ridge.
Okay.
but
The
at
new
very-
one. Yeah.
That's the new one.
Did we
Yeah,
ever
the
go
new
to
one's
the
on
new
Pine
one?
Ridge.
I don't think we did.
No, we didn't.
No, yeah,
We
I went
ended
to
up
that
going
very first one as well. I got kicked out of there.
Did you really?
Yeah,
For
because
what?
I was
'Cause
dyslexic.
the-
and no,
They're
literally.
like, we don't like dyslexic.
No. I was dyslexic and I had ADHD, and no
Uh-huh.
one. They like my teacher didn't like accept it, and like they were just like, there's something wrong with him. He can't be here. And I would just act up in class all the time
Yeah.
because fuck that bitch.
So my dad helped. I'm trying to remember his name. Something more.
Michael?
No,
Was it?
not Michael
the
Moore.
the dean of students
Sure.
at the first time Royal Palm was there, that dude was a jackass.
No, we're talking
He was-
about someone else.
Oh.
He
Yeah,
wasn't-
there was a guy. His last name was, I know his last name was Moore, and he was the one essentially putting up the money for the school and stuff. And my dad was pretty close. It was a tight knit group of adult friends, and that kind of like helped run the school. Yeah, my dad ended up like exposing all of the crazy shit
Yeah, because your dad's a cop,
that was
right?
going on.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so he saw
sick.
what was going on.
Wait, did
I'm
anyone get like touched at our
I
school?
don't think so.
We didn't.
I didn't
No,
for
I didn't.
sure.
No, I didn't.
But
all the priests, like from my experience,
Yeah.
the priests I met and the brothers and stuff, they were super nice.
Yeah,
and, like I
like,
never
everybody
felt
was
unsafe.
nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of the people who were not heads of the
usually
organization
how it
were
goes.
just, like they're just there.
Yeah, doing
Yeah.
what they think is right.
so
Yeah.
my dad's going to be on the podcast next year. That sounds like a long time, but it's like in a month. And one of the things that we're going to talk about is kind of like that story from beginning to end.
Oh, dude.
So I'm really excited to hear. He was there's books written on this, like
Oh,
the
okay.
Legionnaires of Christ, and like he's
Because they
mentioned
had a bunch of schools.
Yeah, they so Royal Palm is briefly mentioned in that book, and my dad's actually named as one of the people that helped expose all the corruption behind this, not just like the school, but like the Legionnaires of Christ, and how like weird it was, and like how he started seeing reports about child molestation
Yeah.
and with the head of that organization and stuff. So he like brought that to the day. I don't know. I'm butchering the story.
Yeah,
no,
he
I
had
don't, I don't want
kids.
to.
I think it was like he had kids.
Yeah.
And priests don't have kids.
Yeah, no,
Yeah, weird.
That's awesome because I used to have a problem with that, like at the school. Like I would talk to Mr. Byer about that. I'm like, like how can we, be here at like this school? Like when I would just be raging because I was upset because I would tell him about the problems with my mom
Yeah.
and stuff like that. Because I didn't have any real other like male to talk to besides my grandfather. But like, you know what I mean? Like that's his daughter type of deal. But yeah, no, Mr. Byer helped shape me for sure into like who I am today, and like helped me get set on like a better path on like, I can do different if I choose type of deal. And it was something that I really needed to hear. And that's pretty much like a theme through my life is like I've had like a lot of, bullshit to deal with and like a lot of like trouble and like all this sort of stuff. But I've been like just constantly overwhelmed with like super awesome people to come across like in my life. Like I've never really ever been hung out to dry in the sense of like I don't have someone to go to.
Okay.
So and Mr. Byer was, for the 3 years that I was there, was pretty much like my rock, to where like if I needed to talk to an adult or like I was just having a really bad day,
Yeah.
like he always made time for me.
That's
So,
nice.
I
I wonder
always-
if we ever like cross paths.
Yeah, I don't know.
Probably not, but
No, because you're what? How old are you?
I'm 28.
You're 28. So I'm
Yeah.
27.
We might have.
You might have been in the
I
first.
think it was
you might
like
have, because
first
the
grade,
class was like
first or
first grade
second.
and second grade was
Yep.
in the same building.
Yep. I
That
remember
would
that,
be
and I went.
crazy.
Yeah, it would
I
be.
went for first.
We should see. I went by
Grade.
Gorham back then.
So I would have gone for
I don't know.
kindergarten.
Yeah, it
I
could
don't-
have been.
I don't
That's
remember.
so
I
weird,
barely
man.
remember
I
that
feel like
place.
we just met another survivor or something. Like that's the vibe I'm getting right now.
Crazy.
I'm just kidding. kidding. But
Yeah, no,
You're
so,
from Nebraska.
Yeah, no, I'm really happy because they put out a statement. Royal Palm Academy is like doing their own thing now. They put out a statement about how they're no longer, with the Legionnaires and
that's good.
all that stuff. So they're still a standalone school and stuff like that, which is good because the people there are really good, like overall. So,
Yeah, it's always like a majority of those people have well intentions, just like in any cult or any
Like Scientology, I'm sure a lot of the
a lot of
people
those people
are
just-
good people.
I'm not
Yeah.
Catholic now because I don't like agree with their views on life, or they're just like overall ideology, right? Like, yeah, it's
Sure. Yeah.
too much overall. As
Yeah,
I'm sure you guys know.
I'm just baffled that is still a thing.
Mm-hmm.
The Legionnaires of Christ.
I'm baffled that
Shame on the people who are still involved in that.
Oh, yeah.
Honestly.
I'm baffled that priests are still allowed to do what they do, like not even just with Legionnaires, but I'm talking about like at the Roman, in Rome. And,
Yeah, a lot of that's been exposed
Spain.
recently.
but
Yeah,
it doesn't.
thing in Colorado. I don't know if you saw, but there was a big report that came out in the Denver Post about like 72 priests in Colorado over the last since the 70s have touched over 1,000 kids or something.
It's the same thing that happened in Boston.
Yeah.
and they made a movie
Right.
about
That-
it.
that-
Right?
yeah.
Spotlight.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. Like that happened, and they just moved priests around.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know, and it's like, but then you also have something like Jeffrey Epstein that exists.
Yeah.
So like like you can't stop something that happens here when it's still happening like over here.
Right.
Because there's no difference between them. The only difference is that it's just so much worse.
One
when a
is
priest
friends
does
with
it.
Bill Clinton, and
Yeah.
the other is not.
Right.
I don't know if they were friends.
I don't know.
He rode on the plane 26
I don't-
times.
No, I know, but I don't think they were friendly.
No, probably not.
Yeah, because there was a very
painting?
Yeah, they
Yeah,
very
I heard
intense
about that.
painting. So I don't think they were very friendly.
No.
They I think the difference is that Jeffrey Epstein, I don't think ever pretended to be
That's what I mean.
your friend, good person, but the priest is like the guy who you can talk to,
Mhm.
and
It's
that-
like Santa
that
Claus molesting you.
that give that
Totally.
parents trust,
Mhm.
and that's like people who are religious. That's their rock in life,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
so if you have someone who's a leader in your faith, then that's like the ultimate trust you can put in them
Yeah.
to take care of your kids. And so to me, that's a much more evil type of, not that what Jeffrey Epstein did was horrible. That's horrible as well
Yeah.
and evil, but a much more evil thing to do, I think.
Is to just betray a child's
exactly.
trust.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, the big fallacy of religion is that it's run by humans and they're ultimately flawed, and there's going to be
Yeah.
corruption in any denomination.
People
like
are going
I-
to take
I-
advantage.
Yeah, I try to be like the nicest person that I can, but like I'm still an asshole at a lot of like
Aren't we
moments.
all?
Yeah,
Yeah.
like ask Jasmine. Hello, Jasmine, the love of my life. But yeah, so
I love you, baby.
yeah, but what is it? Wife check. Yeah, wife check. No. So yeah, but anyways, to get back to my Nana being like just a straight up gangster, is I got in trouble for that, and like it was a big deal.
This is
Like,
back to the donut thing, right?
yeah, back to the donut
Yeah.
thing. Sorry, yeah. I got in trouble for that, and it was like a big deal. Like Mr. Byer was like very upset. He's like, I understand like what you've seen, like all this other stuff, but he's like, you can't subject these kids here to that. He's like, it's my job to like make sure they're safe and they're not subjected to that like type of deal. And it got the president of the school involved and like all this other stuff. And so my Nana comes in because my mom's at work, so I always call my Nana. And my Nana comes in and she's sitting in there and she's just like, I can't believe he did this. She's like, you know what? No, she made it compelling. Like I thought I was gonna get beat. She was just like, this is not who we raised. This is not the grandson I know. She's like, this is just awful. And then she's like, we need to go now. And we get into the car and she hands me a granola bar and a banana. And she's like, so do you like want to go get other food or is this good enough? And I'm like, what are you going to say to my mom? And she's like, oh, don't even worry about it. We'll be totally fine. It's cool.
Nice.
So yeah,
That's
so,
when your food addiction started.
exactly. Yeah. So
That's crazy. I wonder if it'd be so funny if I tell my dad about this, or he listens, he's like, "Oh, that's the cocaine kid."
It'd be amazing. It'd be amazing.
Because it's such a small campus. There's like not a lot of students that
Yeah.
like if something like that happens, it kind of gets around. I'm probably
Yeah.
No,
sure.
I mean, if he asks about like AJ Gorham,
So
or if
funny.
he asks like Mr. Byer, he'll definitely remember me. And I've gone and talked to Mr. Byer like twice since I left the school. Before I left Florida, or before I moved to Tallahassee, and then before I left Florida
really.
on a more permanent basis to move to St. Louis. But
Does he still work there?
Man, he has 5 kids. Super Catholic type
Yep.
dude, but he's
Yeah.
a really solid guy, and he did a lot for me. So,
That's awesome.
but yeah, where were we before I got super psyched?
Granola
And Nana
bars.
was a
Yeah.
gangster.
Yeah.
Yeah, Nana was a
Oh
gangster.
yeah, and then
straight up.
yeah. So I moved to Nebraska, came back. My dad died in 2015.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So then I stayed. Like once my dad died, I was like, okay, like I really need to like stop fucking around and like do something with my life. I don't really know why, but it just kind of propelled me to do that. So then within that year, when did I move to?
Yeah, it probably doesn't matter.
Yeah, like I moved to Tallahassee, I think in like 2016, right before 2017.
Yeah,
So-
because that was right after I left.
Yeah. So I moved there because I was like, I need to get the fuck out of Naples. So I literally moved there with my friend Dip, and I moved there in his Chevy Sonic.
Nice.
So I didn't bring a bed. I just brought a TV, my like Xbox One, and my clothes. And I got all the way up there, and I didn't have a bed for like a solid 3 months
Nice.
while I was there.
Do you remember I slept in your bed
Which one?
in the preserve
Oh,
apartment?
you slept in that one upstairs?
Remember? Yeah, I came to visit for something, and you, I guess, were staying with Jasmine, and so your bed was free.
Yeah,
and,
that's fine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was dope.
Yeah.
So I slept in your bed.
It was
Alright,
dope.
well, you're welcome.
Sleeping in your bed
Jasmine.
But there
the
wasn't much in
dopest.
your room.
Yeah,
and it was
No, there
very
wasn't.
clean.
Yeah, I didn't have anything, man. Like I slept on. So our friend Diego, he lived in the preserve as well. He had these huge like beanbag things that full out into a bed that
Yeah,
are
it's
like
called
memory foam.
corduroy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I slept on that. He let me sleep on that for the 3 months that I didn't have anything.
months?
Yeah.
Oh,
so,
man.
Holy shit.
So I slept on that. So that was really, great of him. But yeah, so I
Shout out
moved-
to Diego.
Shout out to Diego. So so I moved to Tallahassee, and then I went to school at TCC for a year, and then I found out that Logan, where I go to chiropractor school right now, they would allow me to finish my undergrad there because they had an undergrad online program. And
Nice.
Jasmine just graduated school; she was ready to leave Tallahassee. I don't really care where I'm at. It just it doesn't really matter to me.
You're
so
like St. Louis. Here we
yeah,
come.
yeah. I can't believe she moved with me, to be honest. But she didn't have any other plans yet either, so it was okay. But she has a lot of say in where we go next, for sure.
Was it
Wow.
was it your love for Budweiser?
Yeah,
Nice.
that's what it was. Yeah,
The Clydesdales.
yeah. Clydesdales for sure. It's the horses.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we moved there, and I finished up my undergrad degree in life science, and then I started the DC program in May of 2019.
What's a DC program?
Oh, the Doctorate of Chiropractics
Okay.
program.
So good segue into that. Let's do it.
Yeah.
that's fine.
Wait, how
So-
do you like St. Louis? I've been there twice. I went one time for work, and then one time when Sarah actually interviewed for the optometry school there.
Oh, SLU?
Is
it
that what it
SLU
is?
or
I don't know.
WashU? One of them.
SLU maybe.
Yeah.
Didn't our mom wasn't she born in St. Louis, Missouri?
She was definitely born in Missouri. I don't
Oh, okay.
know if it
Maybe
was
Springfield. I don't know.
Oh, is it
Springfield.
Springfield's the capital of Missouri. So
somewhere.
You know your capital, sir.
Yeah,
Good
yeah.
for
That
you.
one.
So have you been in the arch?
No, I didn't go up in it. It's
Oh
really
my
small.
God.
I'm a big dude. I
You
don't know.
can't fit.
What?
What do you
dare
mean?
you.
No, it's like really cramped.
wanna-
Jasmine and her mom went up there, and she was like, "It's really cramped and it smells bad." And like, if I get into I'm not claustrophobic, but if I get into a cramped space and it stinks,
Yeah.
I don't want to be there.
I get
And
you.
I'll start to like freak.
Okay.
Also, it has a huge line.
Yeah.
We walked by. I didn't go in it.
It
either.
depends on when you go, to be honest.
True.
But yeah, and honestly, like I've been up really high before, so it's chill.
You're like, this ain't shit.
Yeah,
I don't know
it's
why
just
this is a thing.
Yeah, it's not a huge
People in the
deal.
Midwest
If you
been on a
guys
roller
come,
coaster?
if,
Bored.
no, if you guys come to visit or whatever, we'll go up. You know, I'll go up. But like me myself, like I don't. It's
Yeah,
cool.
it's
I
not
gotcha.
something you want to do on your spare time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But St. Louis is like okay. The city has really done it, like the people a disservice. They've kind of ran that place into the ground.
Heard.
Yeah. So
been
like if
crazy
you
there,
go
huh?
if you go downtown, like there's more empty buildings than there are full.
Is that because of all the rioting and stuff?
Nope.
No?
Nope. It's been like that since. That's the number one reason that the Rams left. The city, like the government officials, I don't know if it's corruption or what, but they're terrible at spending money.
Probably corruption.
Most likely. The suburbs are really nice. So I live in like a really decent area. Like Manchester, Valley Park area is really nice. And then Chesterfield is like the like true suburbs. That's where like everybody who has a lot of money lives. But yeah, so
So you don't spend a whole lot of time downtown?
no, I kind of just stay, where I'm at. Overall, we'll go into like St. Louis because Jasmine is vegan and I used to be vegan, and that's where all the vegan restaurants are. But there's not a lot. in
How
downtown.
long were you vegan for?
About 5 years, almost just
Wow.
under 5 years.
So you, why the change?
So I'm working out like a lot now, and in order to meet my like protein intake that my body needs, I would have to consume like 5,000 calories a day,
Wow.
and that's just not sustainable.
Yeah.
Financially speaking, or just me being able to eat that much food. Like I'm a big guy, but
So you're eating meat now as well.
yeah. So I
Okay.
eat meat now. I mean, I don't eat cheese because I'm lactose intolerant and I have Crohn's, so it's not something that agrees with me overall.
Yeah, what is Crohn's exactly? Can you...
So Crohn's is an autoimmune disease that they know nothing about.
Oh, great.
There's a lot
Like
of those.
most autoimmune diseases.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Crohn's is so IBS affects more of your colon and like your lower intestine or just your intestines in general, whereas Crohn's kind of will just pick any spot of your digestive tract and be like, this is where I'm fucking you up.
And it's
Yeah.
certain foods that irritate it? Or
Yeah,
it's just
so-
random?
Yeah, no, it's certain foods that irritate it. So I got really lucky because most people, or not most people, but a lot of people who have Crohn's will end up getting a colostomy bag. And if you don't know what a colostomy bag is you have to get a poop sack, for lack of a better word.
That's what I thought it was, yeah.
So like if somebody, you know how people who are diabetic, they'll have to have their insulin injection site right there, and then they'll pump.
Right.
Pretty much in the same area, you're going to get a colostomy bag that hooks into your intestines because you no longer have a colon or any ability to
Shit.
process poop.
And they take it out because the inflammation is so bad? Is
Yeah,
that what it is?
like basically it just erodes.
Oh,
Pretty
wow.
much like
Okay.
the inflammation just gets so bad that it just scars up so bad in there that if they don't take it out, it's going to rupture,
Yeah.
and then you're going to die because of that.
Wow. That's intense.
Are you able to manage your symptoms?
Yeah, so I'm lucky I don't have to take medicine or anything like that. I was able to manage it just with diet.
Yeah, I heard like elimination diets are really effective, right?
Yeah, you just I think the biggest thing you need to figure out when you have Crohn's, and again, it's worse for everybody, like for every individual, you just have to figure out what your triggers are. So, like mine is like super heavy sugar or super heavy dairy or anything like that. So I may not even really be lactose intolerant. It could just be more the Crohn's, but
Yeah.
I had to go on formula, like a soy formula when I was a kid because I would get sick, like when I was a baby. So they pretty much said I was lactose intolerant.
And
overall.
is Crohn's one of the diseases that they can diagnose based off a test, or is it like you have all of these signs, so we believe it's that?
Since it's an autoimmune disease, it's pretty much we believe it's that.
Yeah.
So I got diagnosed when I was 13, and it took them 6 months to actually diagnose me because Crohn's, unlike IBS and all these other things, usually doesn't affect people until later in life. It's kind of like a breakdown autoimmune disease. Like the older you get, stuff just stops working correctly, and then now you have Crohn's. So, but I had it, and they just didn't think my primary care doctor, who I went to, and I told him all this stuff. He's like, you probably have Crohn's, but you need to go to a specialist. I can't tell you have that. So yeah, I went to specialists. They thought I had tumors in my stomach for a while that they weren't able to locate. They thought that I had ulcers. They thought that, it was like a million other things they wanted to rule out first. And I was probably like a week and a half from starting chemo because they're like, we can't find it, but this is pretty much the only thing that you could probably have. And I woke up in the middle of the night and I went into the bathroom and I like vomited and also shit out blood.
Oh, good.
Yeah. So they took me to the hospital and they were just like, no, yeah, this is probably Crohn's.
Yeah.
That's
So,
all it took.
Yeah. No, they just didn't want to believe it because I was so young.
Yeah.
And also the doctors in Florida are not the best.
I have the same experience because not with Crohn's,
Yeah.
but I have a
Shitty doctors.
like GERD, the basically acid reflux real bad, and anytime I would go to a doctor, it was
Yeah.
always like stop smoking,
Yeah.
which I didn't smoke,
Yep.
lose weight, and I was
Yeah.
like, I'm very skinny,
Yeah.
and then like don't wear tight clothes and all these things, and I'm like, I have something wrong with me, but I
Yeah.
think a lot of them didn't believe it because I was so young,
Mhm.
and it's just a lot more rare
Yeah.
to have that kind of issue. And even now, I think like the last time I went to a specialist, like I don't know if he really believed my condition as like much as it actually is. And so I'm gonna go again at some point. But
Well,
yeah, it's
How old are you? 25, right?
6.
26, right? Okay, so if you just like Google it yourself, GERD affects people from like 20 on. Because I'm doing this now for one of my classes, like my clinical reasoning class, and like one of the questions that we had to answer is like how to tell the difference between someone who has GERD and someone who is having a heart attack, because actually the symptoms that you have are very similar.
Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, GERD actually, from recent studies in science and everything, it's actually happens in younger people as well. And I think unfortunately older doctors who don't always keep up to date on research, just kind of trust their gut, which that's what you go to a doctor for, is their expertise. But sometimes it backfires and they don't
Yeah.
want to believe patients because they're like, it's never happened before, so it can't now.
Science is always changing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Got to keep up with it.
That's what they tell you before you go to medical school, and then you're like, well, fuck this.
Like, wait, I still have to study after this?
Yeah. But what's nice is you get to study like actual things and you don't have to waste your time doing stuff that's not,
Yeah. Algebra.
yeah.
Calculus.
Yeah. But yeah, and you know, you get to specialize and stuff and be like, this is what I want to really focus on, and you know, everything like that. So,
Yeah.
but yeah.
So, what made you want to get into chiropractic? Is that how you say it?
Chiropractic?
Yeah,
is it?
chiropractic.
So
Chiropractic.
it's such a weird word
Yeah.
when you
so
say it.
it ends in tick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Chiropractic.
Chiropractic.
Okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, I wanted to be, or growing up, I've always, well, first off, I wanted to play in the NFL growing up. I had hoop dreams, for lack of a better word.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I wanted to do that, but life just didn't work out that way with everything that was just going on, and I didn't really have a lot of stability, so I didn't have a really good want or desire, no one driving me to kind of do it. And I'm not the best self-starter in the world. So yeah, that ended up not being a thing. And then I got a really bad concussion my junior year, and I went to a chiropractor because I was having neck problems after that, and I was 17, and I was like, oh, my neck shouldn't do this. So I talked to my head coach, and he's like, oh, go to this chiropractor. I go to her, and her name's Dr. Nikki Bechtel. So if anyone in Naples is listening and they need to go to a
Shout out.
chiropractor, she's the greatest chiropractor in the world.
Right on. You get
Um,
10%.
Yeah, so I went to see her, and then I just continued seeing her, and I just like asked her a lot of questions, and I've always ultimately wanted to help people. I've always felt best when I help people, or do something that impacts a person's life. So that was my ultimate goal overall. Like if I made it to the NFL or whatever I was going to do, I was also always going to do whatever I can to like help the community that I lived in and like support the people who live there, and like also help kids the most, especially kids who have it way worse than I did, growing up. So, I was looking to do something like that. And for a while I was like, oh, I could do coding like you do. I was like, I'll be able to make really good money, and I'll be able to do more things like in my spare time, stuff like that. And then I was just like, I don't want to sit in front of a computer all day, because again, I'm not the best self-starter. So
Yeah.
I would get distracted really easily and stuff like that.
It's
so,
ADHD.
yeah, it is. So that went away. And then I was like, oh, well, I can be an EMT. And then I looked at that as well, and that's like ridiculously competitive because you have a lot of military vets who come back and they're like, I'll be a firefighter EMT. And I was like, well, they need jobs. So let's just not go saturate that market more. So then I was talking to her as I was thinking about it. I was like, well, I can just become a primary care physician. I was like, I'll just go to medical school or I'll become a DO or, something like that. And I was talking to her, and she was telling me everything she did. And my biggest drawback from going to becoming a medical doctor is the prescription drugs, right? They're great, but there's a big problem with them right now, especially with people trying to force you to make sure people take them. Yeah, overprescribing. Just there's a lot of over belief in what they can do. Instead of looking at them as like a Band-Aid, they want to look at them as like a solve-all.
A cure.
Yeah, and you can't just continually take medicine that blocks your body from doing its natural processes forever. So
you heard it here, folks. AJ is an anti-vaxxer.
Yeah, no. Please go get vaccinated for polio and all other things.
He's also a part of QAnon.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are my brothers.
Save the kids.
Yeah. What is it, moms? What is it?
Moms against Proud Boys?
Yeah, Proud Boys, moms against vaccinations, moms for vaccinations. There's a group of moms for everything.
Yeah.
But, So I was talking to her, and she was like, well, what I do, she's like, makes an impact on everybody's life, and I don't have to prescribe any type of drugs or anything like that. So I looked into it more, and it allows me to help people, like regular people. It also allows me to help athletes because I want to coach eventually, to help kids, things like that. I want to coach football or basketball, whatever. So it allows me to do that, work with athletes. It allows me to, I really enjoy rehabilitation, like for physical injuries, so physical rehab, but I didn't want to be a PT. I didn't want to be a physical therapist because, again, so many rules and guidelines, and there's just structure that I don't agree with as a whole. So she was telling me as a chiropractor, I can do all of those things, and I set all of the guidelines for it. Obviously I have to follow a board, a chiropractic board, and I can only do certain things and stuff like that. But like in the sense of like doing rehab, I could change the type of rehab that we do with science. Whereas being like a PT and stuff like that, sometimes you have to wait for regulation to get passed in order for you to be allowed to do those things.
So what are the you have to be like a certified, you could take a test in order to become a chiropractor? Like,
I have to take 4 board exams just like doctors.
And what are the minimum requirements? Like, do you have to have a certain amount of schooling to do that?
So for the way chiropractic school is set up right now, you just have to have you just have to graduate. You just have to have an undergrad degree.
Okay.
You can have an undergrad degree in whatever, and you can go there. There are prereqs, obviously. So you'd have to take a certain number of science classes and things like that. But like you could come in as like someone who's a poli-sci major because you could.
As long as you have the prereqs.
Yeah, as long as you have the prereqs, you can go into the school. And like the school is not like a joke. So like my first semester there, I took 24 credit hours.
So in order to get admitted into the chiropractic school, you had to have a college degree.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And so how many years of chiropractic school do you have to go through?
So it is a 3-year and 4-month. It's a 5-year program jammed into 3 years and 4 months.
God.
Yeah.
Just for chiropractic?
It's real, man.
Yeah, dude. Same with like optometry.
Yeah.
It was 4 years of
Wow.
lots of training.
That surprises me.
I mean, in my opinion, obviously I'm not a doctor yet, so people will probably tell me to shut the fuck up, but it's a lot of bullshit as well, just like all schools. So
Bullshit in that it's stuff that you don't think you're going to use, or bullshit in that stuff that you don't think is correct, or...
yeah, so the biggest thing is like right now I'm taking biochem, but I'm being taught biochem by someone who is pretty sure 80 years old, and he teaches biochem from the 80s.
Oh,
It's
cool.
it's not like if
Before uranium was invented.
yeah
That was a little earlier.
yeah
He's like, fake news.
So but that's the way he teaches. Like he knows the biochem of today, but he just is like one of those people who are set in the way that he teaches.
Yeah, sure.
So I have to deal with that, and also like his questions on his tests, because there's a thing at my school that goes around that are called like ponies, So people will study past tests to get ready for current tests.
Yeah, right.
And so he like gets upset about that. So he makes his questions like sometimes just straight up irrational. And then he'll be like, this question doesn't make sense. He's like, it made sense to me. And I was like, that doesn't mean anything because like no one understood this. Like tutors who tutor me in biochem don't understand this question.
Yeah.
So I have to, we have to deal with that. And also the biochem that we're learning is like good, but it'd be biochem for someone who is going to be a biochemist.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah,
It's
so
like all
it's-
the generalized courses you have to take to get a biology degree,
Yeah.
and then you go on to not even study biology.
Mm-hmm.
You just become an orthopedic surgeon or something.
Exactly.
Like,
Yeah.
I took chemistry and
Right.
microbiology.
I've taken microbiology twice, and that class like
There's like a very, very small percentage of all kinds of doctors that will go on and do research or invent things or change procedures or whatever that need to know those things. And then 99% of the rest of them are doing surgeries or whatever
More practical
chiropractics do
sciences.
or whatever.
yeah, no, like even if you were going to be a nutritionist, which is like heavy in biochem, the biochem that I'm like learning or that we're being taught is not what someone who's even going to be a nutritionist would use type of
Yeah.
deal, right? So like it's just bureaucracy inside of a school system.
Yeah.
Like overall, like
Do
you
you
just
have
have to jump through hoops and play the game in order to get to where you want to be.
Do you take specific courses on chiropractic?
Yeah, so my school, the reason I chose my school is because a lot of the other schools, I don't enjoy their philosophy. So my school is more into evidence-based.
How many schools are there in the U.S.?
So there's like 4. There's like 3 to 4 Life campuses. There's 3 to 4 Palmer campuses.
Is that a company?
No,
Palmer
no.
is the founder of chiropractic.
We can talk about that too, because
I want to.
No,
We'll
we
get
can't,
more
'cause
into
that
this,
is
yeah.
so bad. It's so bad. That's the reason chiropractic isn't taken serious.
Okay,
That
so-
and the medical, like the medical association is also the reason chiropractic isn't taken serious. But it
So
also,
so Life is what?
so Life is a chiropractor school. So that Life has a school in San Francisco. They have one in Georgia,
Okay.
and then they have, I don't remember where the other one is. Oh, they have one down in Texas. They actually got hit by a tornado like last year, and it destroyed half their school.
So let's talk a bit about the origins, and then
Okay.
we can kind of
Yeah.
to kind of give
So
context to this.
We should preface this by we're not attacking chiropractic.
Yeah.
Oh, no,
We're
please
saying
do.
anything about
I
it.
kinda will.
But
Yeah,
no,
go
but
for it, dude.
but I think that we should bring up the controversy of it, and because
Yeah.
we want to hear your opinion and why either you think it's not true, bullshit, or that you agree with it and why you're still okay with it, whatever.
Yeah. So first question is, when did you learn about the origin of chiropractic?
Oh, we have a class on it.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we have a class on it that's 1 hour, and it basically just goes over the history of adjustments. So it talks about how people during various Chinese dynasties would do adjustments along with acupuncture and stuff like that. So like chiropractic's first thing everybody should understand is that it was not invented in Western society. It has been something that was invented in Eastern society. They've been adjusting people since like the 1100s. They've been doing things like this, which would, back then it was considered like bone setting type of deal. And then it got brought over here by D.D. Palmer. So D.D. Palmer was a very interesting character, right?
Yeah.
He was a little off his rocker, but if we're going to be honest, most people in history who have ever invented anything or started anything were pretty crazy.
Sounds like a good excuse.
Yeah. So yeah, he was crazy. So he was someone who believed in like magnets. So he thought like now
That's still a thing today.
Oh, yeah.
Too. Like those.
Yeah.
You guys remember those life
Yeah.
bracelets?
Mm-hmm.
That's just a magnet.
I
Yeah,
thought it was
so-
supposed to be radiation. Is that not the same thing?
No, it's a magnet. It's
It's
like
a
a magnet
magnet,
that
yeah.
helps like balance the electrolytes and
Yeah.
like things like
Okay.
that.
It's bullshit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a lot of pseudoscience. But this was also the 1800s, so bloodletting was still a thing, right? And doctors, like medical doctors.
Yeah, there.
used
I
to
mean,
blood to blood.
medical doctors were prescribing heroin.
Yeah.
Like all these.
Well, they
still a lot of.
Yeah, they
nice.
used to like. I think so. That's the most important thing I think we should look at first is like
Isn't
chiropractic
morphine
is still
technically
very,
heroin?
very. What'd you say?
Morphine.
Yeah,
It's like the sister of heroin.
yeah,
They still prescribe that.
yeah.
The lesser
Anyway, sorry.
No, you're good.
Continue.
But chiropractic is still very new when you compare it to the medical field overall. So like the first like documented like serious medical stuff was like the plague, right? They started doing it with the plague. You had the doctor who had the mask on. You know, they would just prescribe remedies. And they go, oh yeah, this will fix the plague because they had no idea what the fuck it was, right? Then they would also do things like they used to do surgery. And people used to just come in attendance, and they used to never clean anything. And you know, like it was just you had to figure out exactly like what you were doing. So there's just a lot of craziness that was happening, and that's the same thing that's happened at the beginning of chiropractics, right? There's a lot of craziness that's happening, and there's still a lot of craziness that happens in the medical field, chiropractic field, any field you want to look at. There's a lot of craziness that happens, and it's just you have to do the best to weed through the bullshit and find what's actually real. And that's why, long story short, I chose my school is because they're very evidence-based and they trust science and they're very heavy into research. So I have a research assistant job with Dr. Norman Kettner, who is one of the best radiology techs in the world, well, pretty much in America, to where he gets doctors who send him things and he looks over their x-rays and tells them what's going on. So research is important, which is a lot of things that weren't important at the beginning of chiropractics. And then you had someone like D.D. Palmer, who the first time he gave an adjustment was to a janitor who said he was not able to hear. So he brought him in, and he pretty much did an adjustment in his thoracic spine, probably about T7. Thoracic spine would be like mid-back for anybody who doesn't know. But he basically did it about T7, and he did that, and then the guy was able to hear. So then D.D. Palmer ran around, and then also that guy ran around and said he, cured my hearing. Like I can hear now.
Jesus Christ.
So he took that and ran with it, and then he had a son who was named B.J. Palmer, and B.J. Palmer also went into the family business, but B.J. Palmer also ran away from home first, and he went and joined a circus and like all this other stuff, and then he came back. And him and his father always had a very strained relationship, which is why he ran away. And then eventually he ran his father over with a car.
Yeah. I
On
heard that.
purpose?
What? On purpose?
Allegedly.
Oh. Okay.
Allegedly.
Yeah.
on
Yeah, no, that
purpose.
motherfucker ran him over with a car. Like, I'll jump out on the limb for that one for you guys.
Well, it seemed like he was trying to take over
Yeah.
his dad's business,
No,
right?
that's exactly what he did.
They're like essentially
He got his
snake
dad-
oil salesmen.
Yeah,
right?
at the beginning, pretty much they
Yeah.
were, and that's what also hurt them. But so then we move on, and we get to Didi. He ends up like going down to like Texas because his like BJ didn't kill him, and he basically made him leave, and he's like, you can't practice chiropractics here anymore. So he like goes down to Texas, and he's like practicing chiropractics and like all this other stuff.
They try to make it a religion too, right? They like file for religious status in the
Yeah,
United
because
States.
that was more because they were trying to become like official and just not get shut down. So maybe they were trying
tax
to
reasons, probably.
tax
yeah.
reasons.
Yeah, it was tax reasons too, but maybe they were trying to start a cult. These guys, I'm telling
They
you,
have like
right
a manifesto.
yeah,
doesn't
no,
he?
they're pretty insane people. Like
Yeah.
I'm not disagreeing with that at
Yeah.
all. But so then you have a person who is Logan, who's my school is named after, and he was the first school to actually have cadavers. So you would come in and you'd actually cut into bodies, learn how all bodies work from inside out, see what nerves, veins, everything look like. And I did that as well. I've cut open the skull, took the brain out, saw inside all the maxilla, seen all the sinuses, everything like that, seen all the cranial nerves, everything. And so he was the first person to do that. So he, in my opinion, is the number one reason chiropractic is at where it is today, because he was the first person to just cut out all of the bullshit and just try to get as fact-based as possible. Now, the reason it's really hard to get fact-based with chiropractics is when you have like a segmental dysfunction, or you have any type of like pain in your neck or anything like that, whether it's like muscle based or anything like that, it's hard to take an x-ray sometimes and say, there's the problem, and then adjust it and be like, look, the problem's fixed. Because a lot of the times we're talking about like millimeters in difference that make all the difference. Because in your spine, all of your nerves that control your entire body run out of there. So if any time they ever get any type of like impingement or anything that would lead to them getting inflamed in any way, it's going to cause some type of problem. Whether it's my arm's numb or, man, this really hurts doing that type of deal. Like whatever movement you're doing in any way, shape, or form is going to lead to that. But it's been proven, not for everybody, of course, because not everything works for everybody, but just through patient accounts, period, people go to a chiropractor, they'll get adjusted in a proper, safe manner. There's crazy people out there still who are like the people who do ring dingers.
What is that?
So, a ring dinger.
You should Google this.
Yeah, no, you can look it up right now. Type in a ring dinger. I forget the doctor's name, but if you show me his picture, I'll be able to tell you who it is. But basically, he takes this Y strap, and it straps around your neck right here. Pretty much like goes like a chin strap here. And he'll take the handles here, and he'll yank you back. But he yanks you back so aggressively that it actually can cause damage to your brainstem. Because he's a chiropractor who doesn't understand how the spine works and doesn't understand what causes brain damage and what doesn't. So,
Yeah, we're looking at it right now. That's
That's nasty.
anytime you like
so what he's
do
doing
that with your neck that
Yeah.
violently, that
Yeah.
just doesn't seem like a good
no,
idea.
that like there's people in there, and you could see overall they're taking the contact of like somebody who's playing in the NFL who gets
yeah.
just straight blasted.
Yeah.
And they're saying that's a good thing. If you ever see somebody take their hands when they get knocked out and they go like this, or they get into the Jesus Christ pose,
Yeah.
right? So those are decerebrate and decorticate posturing, and that means that there's been brainstem damage.
Okay.
And it depends on where the level is, because you have the mesencephalon, pons, and then you have medulla, right? And that's how your brainstem goes. So anytime those get damaged, your body is going to give reactions because it's just sending signals down, right? So when you see them do it, you may see some people and their hands will crinkle up like this, and that's because it's brainstem damage. Now, all he's really doing is like spinal decompression. So it's actually a good thing, but instead of you doing a Y strap so violently, you put the Y strap on and you just give a little tug. You're not backing them up and trying to drag them off the table.
Yeah.
That's what he just did.
Yeah. So,
Okay.
yeah, no, it gets really bad, and like I agree with you, and it
Okay.
actually upsets me a lot.
So, okay, so I'm not saying I agree with this or I know anything about it, but like if you were to just Wikipedia chiropractic, which most people who don't know what it is would do, so this is what they're going to see. It's going to say that it's a pseudoscience, which just means that it doesn't, like the evidence doesn't fall under how the scientific method would show what evidence is or whatever, something like that.
So it's like probably more anecdotal supportive
Perhaps,
evidence?
or a different method that's not recognized by the majority of,
Like
of
STEM.
science
community.
Yeah, it's not recognized by the medical association.
Right. So, so if you group chiropractics as a whole under pseudoscience, and then we hear you saying like, when you do this thing, it's bad, but if you do this, it could be good. Like, how are you differentiating what is potentially damaging to patients and what's not?
Through science. And I don't mean that as like a dick response, but you do it through science. You have to.
What do you mean by that?
So you have to understand anatomy, you have to understand physiology, and you have to understand overall how bodies work in the positions that you set them in. So let's say that you have pain on the right side of your neck, okay? So we'll say you have pain in the right side of your neck, and you have your spinous process, which is the point that's at the back of your vertebrae. Let's say that is pointing to the right, okay? Like it's moved over to the right. It's palpable I could feel it. I could show a random stranger, you come feel this, you can see this is how a spine is supposed to be in line. You see this one right over here, it's moved over a little to the right, right? When you go to do that adjustment, you have to understand where you're placing your hands. You have to understand what you're adjusting, and you have to understand the position you're going to put that person's neck in. So if I was going to do that adjustment, I would have you here. I would take my first index finger, probably to right about here in between my middle knuckle and my ending knuckle. I would go right on to the TP, or your transverse process, or even the spinous process itself, depending on the overall position of it and how far it over. And the TPs are just basically the wings that are on your disc. So I don't know, I mean, on your vertebrae. I don't know if you guys have ever seen a vertebrae, but it just has the body, comes out with the lamella, goes out to the transverse process, comes down, goes into the spinous process. And the number one thing you check when you do a basic scan on anybody and you palpate them, which is feeling for any type of misalignments or any type of stiffness or tenderness or anything like that, the number one thing you're looking for is to make sure that the vertebrae are all in line. And if they're not in line, that's what you adjust. So if I was going to adjust your, C7 or C5, I would go in, get the knuckle in right there. I would take the left side of your head. I would fold it over my hand to where your neck would pretty much be like this. And I'm going to just have a line of drive that is pretty much just going to be medial and inferior, or medial and superior, depending on which way I need your disc to go.
Yeah.
Or your vertebrae to go. And then once I do that, it's going to relieve most of the tension that your muscles are feeling, because your muscles are guarding the area that is having the problem to protect it. So it's telling your nerves, hey, this vertebrae is not in the proper place. We need to have more muscle support on this side. So that's why you'll get like muscle tightness. Not from working out, but you'll wake up, now I have a crick in my neck type of deal.
Gotcha.
Okay?
And so that sounds sounds like more of like an application. Like, so what is it? You said that it's not widely accepted as like science by the medical community because is it like not studied?
No. So
like what is the...
I think what Wikipedia says is that the studies, not that it's not studied, but the studies that are done don't follow the same process that the medical community would do for their own operations, drugs, whatever.
Well, no, and that's a true statement, and that's the number one reason, again, why I picked my school. Because my school follows the scientific method, which is you see a problem, and you're basically figuring out how to fix it in a strategic and safe and like healthy way, right? Without putting the patient in risk.
Yeah.
Whereas a lot of schools are more just you bring someone in, adjust them, and get them out the door when they don't realize that they could actually be doing damage. Yeah. So the same thing with me adjusting your neck. If I adjust your neck and it doesn't get better, I'm not going to adjust your neck again. That's like the number one mistake that you could ever make.
Gotcha.
Because if I adjusted it the first time, I didn't mess up. It didn't go because it wasn't supposed to. So it means there's a deeper problem there. Whether it's you have a lesion somewhere.
What's that?
Like a lesion would be, so if you have a lesion on your brainstem, that's when you'll get people who stroke, and then you see them and they don't have full function of their arms or anything anymore. If you get a certain lesion in certain parts of your brainstem, it'll affect your body in other ways, such as like I can't move my fingers now, or they're stuck like this, or type of deal. Or when someone gets paralyzed, that's a lesion on their spinal cord, so there's no longer a connection from your brain to those neurons that are going to give the signal to your body to what to do the correct way.
So I think, or believe rather, that chiropractic helps people. Obviously people go and they feel better. So what is stopping like Logan from, I guess, supporting studies that would fall in line with like the medical practice world to legitimize the I guess the field of chiropractic?
We already do. So we work alongside with Harvard and we actually do a lot of seminars with Harvard. So the Harvard doctors will come on and talk for integrated health. So like Logan is really big into integrated health, which is instead of saying chiropractic is better than, the medical field, it's saying chiropractic wants to work with the medical field, because that's the big problem. So the biggest issue is the medical association tried to get chiropractics disbanded. So DOs and chiropractics were separate entities.
Why do you think that was?
Because it's something that worked and people are greedy.
I think,
And also, people are greedy in the sense that chiropractics wanted to be its own thing and the sole number one thing, and medical field wanted to be its own thing, sole number one thing. And medical field's been around a lot longer, so they had more power, more, just more control overall. And instead of chiropractics being like, we want to work with you, they're like, no, we want to be number one.
and also you have people like Palmer,
Yes.
and whoever else, who are like even in optometry. There's a field called behavioral. I think it's just called behavioral optometry, and there is a specific school in the U.S. Optometry school in the U.S. who kind of specializes in this, or a lot of the doctors there are part of it. And it's not based, like there's not much medical based evidence that it works. And so like what Sarah would say is it basically just like there's maybe some things that work with it and that are good and that you can try, and maybe for some people probably a placebo effect will be good, but it kind of makes, like it can make that part of the field not look at it as legitimate. So probably in chiropractics, I mean, like you guys study the body anatomy, all that kind of stuff. So there's probably parts of it that are completely legitimate. Maybe they haven't been studied enough. Maybe they have been studied enough, but there could be that there's just a lot of people who have put enough of like the foo-foo science or whatever into it that it makes the whole organization look bad.
Can you go to that guy's YouTube channel?
Who is it?
The ring dinger guy.
Is it a specific person?
Yeah, if you type in ring dinger, was it an old dude with white hair when you saw him do it?
I think so.
Because he's patented the name ring dinger.
Oh, okay. Advanced Chiropractic Relief LLC.
Probably not.
Maybe.
Yeah, just type in the ring ding.
Dr. Gregory Johnson.
I think that's him.
Yeah.
Let me see.
Can I see a picture of him? I'm sorry, dude.
No, you're
it's
good.
all good.
Yeah, I just don't want to like put misinformation. The problem is what I'm trying to get at. Is the problem is that dude has as many YouTube followers as he does. That's the problem.
Meaning like,
Keep hitting that.
meaning he's that guy.
Yep, that guy right there.
So he's a bad guy
He-
in the field of legitimate
Yes,
chiropractic.
evidence-based chiropractics.
Okay.
He's a problem for us overall.
So he's a Palmer guy, maybe, or no, maybe somewhere in between.
Yeah, so for chiropractics, you have conservative chiropractors, and then you have liberal chiropractors, and then you have what's considered mixers. So liberal chiropractors are people who will only do things that are science-based. Conservative chiropractors
And that's what you want to do.
No, most people. Hold on one sec. So most people lean in the mixer side, which is, yeah, I'm going to do what I can that's evidence-based, but sometimes, certain things you like work. So it's like, it's the same thing with what he's talking about with like, there hasn't been enough time and dedicated studies to show exactly how this works.
So you think with enough time and money and studies that this could be proven to
Yes.
be an effective science?
Yes. Especially for people who suffer from neurological disorders.
Okay.
So, such as people who have had strokes. So, my neuro professor specializes in rewiring people's bodies. So, chiropractics at its core is a neurological based, it's a neurological based, like, system in science. Like, everything you do in chiropractics functions entirely off of the brain, because you're literally just dealing with nerves the entire time. You're dealing with nerves and bones. So if you don't understand the anatomy of the brain, and you don't understand, which I don't fully understand yet, because I'm still going to school and I'm probably never going to fully understand it like overall, but it's understanding how the brain works with the body and how the brain makes your body do things, right? So if someone has a stroke and they're no longer able to flex their arm, chiropractic I want to do is going to allow you to be able to flex your arm. Are you going to get 100% of your mobility back? No, because you've done a lot of damage. But I'm going to do my best to help you build it back in to where you can stretch your arm.
What do you think that person would resort to in terms of physical therapy? Like, are there other alternatives to chiropractic? Like, if chiropractic didn't exist, what would that person do to regain some of the mobility?
Well, I mean, they would go to a PT, but I don't know if you guys have ever been around people who've been through strokes or anything like that, or have talked to people who go through strokes. But PT, unfortunately, because it's so medically involved, insurance is involved a lot. So people who go to PT all progress at different rates. So if someone's not progressing very fast, but they only get 3 months worth of time, then they're just left and like, just do these exercises and you'll be fine.
Right.
Type of deal, right? But as a chiropractor, I don't have to rely on insurance to be paid. I can have you come in and you give me $35 and I'll do everything that I can possibly do to make it to where I can make your life better, right? I'm not beholden to insurance companies and everything like that, like most medical fields are, you know, like, because if you...
Which makes it even more sketchy, right? Because if the insurance company isn't supporting or paying out, that just delegitimizes the field,
No.
right?
It's not that an insurance company won't pay out for it. Insurances will allow you to go to a chiropractor. They'll only give you a set amount of visits.
That's true. My insurance company actually does.
Yeah. So, but the thing is I'm not reliant on insurance. If you wanted to go to a PT office just for physical therapy, it's going to cost you a lot of money per visit without insurance. Mm-hmm. I don't have to have
You're cheaper.
Yeah, I don't have to have that.
Why are you cheaper?
Because I don't have to. Their PT companies are. I mean, people who do physical therapy, they have to code things what they cost. So they can't just say, you know,
because the insurance companies are involved. I
well,
don't get it.
I mean, so insurance companies are involved, and then also their prices are just set because that's what their code costs. So like they code in, I did this much therapy with this patient. That's what I did. This is what I have to be billed. Because you need to pay me, you need to pay the facility that I'm in.
Yeah.
You need to pay everything like that. You have to pay you have to pay part of all the overhead. You have to, do all that.
Why doesn't chiropractic follow the same model? Because it seems like it could.
Because, again, being pretty much excommunicated, they get stonewalled by insurance a lot. So as a chiropractor, it's actually smarter right now to not even deal with insurance because you're just going to fight them for pennies.
Yep.
So it's just better you set your own price. They come inside, you do what you need to do, and then you move on. And a lot of chiropractors have X-rays in their facility. So like if you come in, you're like, I was just in a car accident, they'll shoot an X-ray. But if you come in, you're like, man, I'm just having some low back pain. I was working out and now my back hurts, this morning more than it ever has. They're probably not going to shoot an X-ray on you because that's a more common problem. That's going to be able to be fixed by just their expertise. Because you don't have to check for fractures.
Yeah.
Depending on what's happening. Like if they come in and they're like, man, my back's hurting and it's radiating all the way down my leg. You need to get that person checked because they could have a disc problem in the sense of having a herniated disc or a fully collapsed disc or anything like that. So there's red flags just like anything. But if someone comes in and they're like, man, my back's just really, really stiff, I can do something about that without having to see you on an X-ray.
Yeah, but I think so. I think what the concerning thing is, or could be, and I'm not saying. So I think in a lot of other fields, medical, dental, optometry, doctors can do things that aren't even though they're allowed to do them, they may not be the best thing for you. Mm-hmm. But if chiropractics doesn't have a specific, like you were saying with PT, mm-hmm. they have to follow certain regulations and guidelines mm-hmm. based on the studies of this and that. But with chiropractics, if you have people who can do what they think is best, mm-hmm. how can you trust what's happening? So for instance, I have a chiropractic place down the road from me that's offering some special on cracking something. Uh-huh. How do I know what's legit? Like, I mean, I know that person's a chiropractor.
Yeah.
They have a degree in it.
Mm-hmm.
They got board certified, mm-hmm. whatever. But how do I know that what the operations they're doing on me are the legit ones, or whatever?
Yeah. So, what's important to understand first and foremost is that like chiropractic studies are aggressively underfunded, and we're dealing with a battle against somebody who has over 100 years of studies and things that have been published and just constantly being funded, to where we're just now starting to do it for the last like maybe 30 plus years, to where they're actually doing real scientific studies. So the science hasn't come out yet to back up everything we're saying, because studies take time, right? And they take money, and they take people dedicated to do the research. There's such a small percentage of people who are going to be chiropractors. So that means there's even a smaller percentage of people who are going to dedicate their life to doing research about it, right? So you have to deal with that. And then there's just a lot of misinformation about chiropractic that's out there. And the chiropractic field, Chiropractic Association, they're trying to do the American Chiropractic Association is trying to do its best to, get rid of that. But you have shows like The Friends that were on in the 90s, and they said, oh, did he earn his degree at a mall? Type of deal. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Those things get deep seated into people's minds.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So then you have things like Wikipedia, who say that it's all pseudoscience and things like that. But I'm not going to do that, but I could pull up studies that are from actual legitimate regular databases that every medical school student would use that are going to show you chiropractic evidence stuff. I could also just show you stuff that I've gotten from Dr. Kettner that is also it too. It's just it's not being widely published yet because it's so new, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah, that makes sense.
yeah.
And so how, as a consumer, do I protect myself? Because you even said like someone who might go to a Palmer school may do more of the less evidence-based stuff. So how do I know, like, if you open your practice or work for someone or whatever you end up doing, that you're get the guy who's going to do the good portion of chiropractics?
Well, the number one way is to make sure that they never do anything that you feel uncomfortable with. So a lot of chiropractors will do what a lot of just people do in general, where they're like, I know it's best, so just let me do it, whatever. So that is the number one red flag. Don't go in there.
Sounds like you may be in a situation where it's too late. Like if I go into Miles's office and they're like, just do your thing. He's like, okay. By the time he's like yanking on my neck and twisting it, I'm like, okay, this doesn't seem like it's the right.
No. If it's your first visit, right, and a chiropractor is not explaining every step of the process with you, he's already failed you, and you should just leave.
Okay.
Like, just get out. Also, look for like fear tactics. So a lot of people will be like, if you don't get adjusted right now, it's going to be a problem. Like, if you don't do it right now. I had a doctor who is a teacher at my school. He teaches the principles of chiropractics, right? And one of my fellow students went into his office. Didn't say he was a student. Went in with his wife, and he used the word he used the phrase, "You have a cattywampus spine."
Oh my god!
All right. Now you're in Missouri, so like, I can understand you thinking that's like okay things to say, because some of the people you deal with in Missouri are country. That would be a word they understand. That's totally fine. But the problem was everything after. Everything he did was very like fear-based. He's like, if you don't get this, started working on right now, it's going to end up being like a big problem. It's going to cause you more issues overall, like all those stuff. That's not how you need to approach anybody as a chiropractor. If you came into my office and you were, unsure about what I was going to do, I was like, okay, look, I'm not going to adjust you today. But what I am going to do is I'm going to put you through some like physical rehab things to make you feel better. I'm going to have you stretch, and I'm going to give you some stretches. You go home. If that makes you feel better but doesn't make this fully go away, come on back and we can keep working on it without me actually manipulating your body in any way where I have to put my hands on you in a way that you don't feel comfortable, right? So that's number one. But yeah, the fear tactics. And then number two, if a chiropractor is ever like, oh, let's just get you set up on a 12-week plan, just walk out immediately. Because that's garbage.
Okay.
Because
like you said,
he's not a genius and he's not God, so he's not going to be able to tell that, you come to me 3 times a week for 12 weeks, so after your 48 adjustments, you're going to be fine. Doesn't work that way. You don't even probably need like 48 adjustments, right? And that's just him trying to make as much money off of you as possible.
Okay.
And it's just a shitty, sleazy business practice.
If you graduate from Logan and you take your boards, and then another guy graduates from the Palmer School, is he taking the same board exam?
It's all regulated.
What do
Just
you
like
mean
if
by
any, it's all regulated by,
Well, 'cause
government
there's-
standards,
Yeah.
everything.
So there's the board. What did you call it? The Board of American.
Yeah, so there's the American Chiropractic Association. It's the
Okay,
same thing as
association.
the American Medical Association, and they oversee and regulate everything that goes on with boards. And then that's also regulated and backed by the federal government, and then also backed by state governments. So in different states, you can do different things. So in states where you're going to be in more rural communities, some chiropractors also get the okay to set dislocated bones and also like do minor surgeries in the sense of like stitching. That would be considered like a minor surgery. I'm not saying they can cut you open and stuff, but
Yeah.
if you need to get stitches, they can do that, so you don't have to drive,
Yeah.
4 hours to get to a hospital, type of deal.
Are you gonna be able to do that?
It depends on where I go.
Yeah.
We're looking into Washington pretty heavily, and they allow that, but
That's cool.
I don't know if I'll live in a rural area enough to do that.
So you have to take a test for each state, right? After that,
Yeah, so
or whatever state you're going to be in.
No, so there's 4 boards that you have to take, and then some will require extra
Right,
extra
okay.
tests.
Optometry
depending
does
on
that
where
as
you-
well.
Yeah.
So that's like in some states, optometrists can actually do some surgeries that ophthalmologists can do.
Yeah.
We're the medical doctor of eyes. But I think it's very much for a similar reason, because there are some communities where there aren't enough ophthalmologists or surgeons who can do those more minor surgeries, so people can get specialized in them.
Yeah. And so like that stuff's helpful and everything like that. But yeah, everything that chiropractors do, testing wise and everything, that is regulated the same way that it is for medical boards.
So Washington, what appeals to you?
Well, we want to be on the West Coast.
Okay.
But we're not going to the hellfire that is California. That's
Is anyone actually moving there right now?
Dude, I don't know.
My friend Natty, I think, just moved there from
For
New
a
York.
job, though?
That's a
Yeah, for a
terrible,
job.
terrible time to move. But like figuratively and literally, that place is just like on fire.
It might be a
Yeah.
really good time to move there, or maybe not yet, but the rents and real estate are going to be so cheap.
No, once all these people move out of there, that homeless problem is going to start to become
Sure.
a real issue. Like
Sure.
squatters, like all sorts.
Yeah.
Like LA specifically, they're in for like 10 plus years of trying to get this homeless situation under control, especially now that everybody's moving out.
Well, yeah, and I've heard, like, if you, especially with like YouTubers or podcasters, who a lot of them live in LA or the surrounding area, if you followed them for the last few years, they start talking about, like, you can there. I guess there's a big noticeable difference in the last few years of the homeless issue in LA and how bad it's gotten.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure you guys listen to Joe Rogan, and he talks about it all the time, like the tent cities, how they're just growing and growing. And he's like going downtown. He doesn't like doing it because, he brings his kids, and there's just people in tents on the side of like where he's trying to go into a restaurant.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Shit
think
on the ground.
I don't. It's not. It's certainly really bad in LA, but it's not a problem exclusive to LA.
Oh, yeah, of course not. No,
it's just it's our economy failing us.
Oh, yeah,
it's
yeah.
We have it here too, right? It's going to be anywhere that has those those protections. It's basically like if you put your stuff in a public area, the police can't remove it.
Yeah.
And that's what causes that issue.
That's why like Florida hasn't dealt with this as extremely as everybody else, because in Florida, if you do that, you can get in trouble, and you get in trouble enough, then you'll end up going to jail and things like that. And obviously, that's not the solution. That's not what I'm saying.
Straight to jail.
Yeah, straight to jail.
Straight to jail.
Yeah, I mean, like Florida,
Hugo Chavez, number one.
all these states have these problems, I think the states that give more protections have more of the problems, because if you were homeless and you were protected in California or Colorado when you moved there,
that was
Yeah,
would you travel there?
I mean, South Park made an episode about it, number one, but number two, like everyone's destination, if they're homeless people, was to go to LA, right, or just California in general, because that was the first state to like protect them, and
Yeah.
protecting them is obviously important because they need it, but you're just protecting them and kicking a can down the road and dealing with the problem at a later date.
Yep.
And now it's not being handled at all. And I just mean that, like, with everybody leaving, if people keep leaving in the amount that they are, the homeless people are just going to take those houses over. And then not only are you going to have to deal with the fact that everybody left, but now you're going to have to fix these houses before you can even sell them, like all this other stuff. And again, it just doesn't fix the problem. It's just going to get worse.
Yeah. You have to think at a certain point what the homeless issue has done in LA to the economy.
Yeah.
Like the cost of it on the economy. Could they have spent that money on a better solution
Oh, absolutely.
for the homeless? So where we now don't have that issue, and like homeless people have a better life or something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Kind of like the whole thing of like all the other things we have in society to like addiction centers, public addiction centers, or whatever, things like that, that basically try to stop a problem from happening. We have the wonderful Harley, right?
Yeah, Harley.
in the house.
Sorry, everybody. The chewing noise was.
And she's
My
a
dog
very
eating.
wonderful dog.
Thank you.
First dog on the podcast.
Yeah.
But she
Yeah.
was a little hungry,
Yeah.
making a little noise, but it's
Yeah.
okay.
She's a good girl.
Yeah.
Yeah, she is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she's licking herself. That's good. That's great.
Now we get the
Thank
nasty
you.
sounds.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah. So I think that it was definitely poor planning on the part of these cities.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I mean, people have to agree that they're going to fix the solution to begin with. If your government just decides we're going to spend all this money to fix the homeless problem,
Mhm.
you're going to have so many people complaining about it.
Yeah, and I mean,
And now you have people complaining about that now there's a homeless problem.
Yeah, no, and I think the number one way you fix the homeless problem, or where you should start, is you should look at countries like Portugal and like Switzerland, and those are places that we're dealing with like a bunch of street
Delinquents.
delinquents overall because of drug problems, right? So like they had massive drug issues. So like Portugal legalized all drugs, and then they made safe injection sites, and they made it to where you can show up and you can get whatever drug you'd like. The government supplies it, so it's safe, it's clean. They'll inject it for you, and then you can go on about your day.
Hell yeah.
And they
Yeah,
went
that's what Oregon's gonna start doing.
yeah, and they went from having over like 40 or 0.5% of their population being addicted to drugs to now it's like in below 10 for
Interesting.
both places.
Yeah, drug use is definitely a problem. It can lead to homelessness, but I think the bigger issue is probably mental illness.
Yeah, but mental illness will also lead to your drug use.
Totally. It's
And
like
then
it's
it'll
real. It's
make
relatable.
you crazy.
Yeah.
Drug use, like if you smoke crack, especially crack that's been cut by people who use baking soda to make it go longer.
The good stuff.
Yeah, put all of these harsh chemicals in instead of giving you like clean, pure, and like safe, drugs. Then it's gonna lead to your mind falling apart. There'll be people who don't have any mental illness issues such as schizophrenia, anything like that, and they'll just abuse psychedelics, or they'll just abuse cocaine or crack or anything like that, and then eventually their mind will just become so warped that they now suffer from
This
it.
actually this reminds me. I wanted to bring this up a little bit earlier, but I think now is a good time. I know like fentanyl and other very addictive drugs have been an issue, like in the Midwest, and we talked about how your family or some of your family and friends were addicted to drugs in Nebraska.
Yeah.
And I was wondering, since you still have family there, do you see that issue there?
Oh yeah. So my sister has pretty much been addicted to every major drug that you could imagine. Meth, cocaine, crack, heroin, name it. She's pretty much probably done it. And she's probably done it in excess. And now she's just dealing with a raging alcohol problem because she doesn't deal with her issues either. But there's a problem. So here, I'll give a good story I'll give a funny story so we can lighten up the mood overall.
Okay.
So when I was living in Nebraska, so like I did shrooms back in Florida quite a lot. Well, not quite a lot, but like
Did
more
you
than
pick them
enough.
off of the farms?
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah, more than enough that a kid should do, like in high school.
Yeah.
Probably.
So I did shrooms probably like 4 or 5 times in Naples before I moved to Nebraska. You can't get shrooms in Nebraska
Why is that?
because they can't grow there. They don't have the climate for it.
Interesting.
And you can't ship them because by the time you ship them, they'll spoil.
Interesting.
Right? So, well, at least pretty much like that's it. It would just cost too much and be way too much of a pain in the ass to ship them, right?
Okay.
But maybe now it's a little bit different, but
Fair.
back in like 2008 it was. And also, I was a kid, so like I wasn't about to get like the highest quality mushrooms you possibly could. So my friends were like, "Oh, we have some mushrooms and like we would like to do them." And I was like, "Well, I've done mushrooms before, so yeah, let's just like do it together. We'll just put on some cartoons and we'll just have a good time." So we did the mushrooms and we were sitting there and we were watching like Ed, Edd and Eddie or SpongeBob or just something. And then I like got a text from somebody and I looked at my phone and I realized the time. And my aunt niece, my brother's mom, wanted to have dinner that night. And I forgot about it. So I started to like panic because it was like 10 minutes until we were supposed to have dinner. And I was like down the street from my house, but it was like a couple blocks away. So I just like get up and like run out of the house and I'm just running, like hauling ass down the street. And as I'm doing this and I'm just running and I'm running, everything around me starts to like make noise. And then all of the bushes, the lampposts, everything like that turn into animals. And all they keep saying is, "We're going to get you."
Damn, how much mushrooms did you take, my friend?
It wasn't,
They were Nebraskan mushrooms.
It was
Yeah, so-
good shrooms.
The kind that
so
kill you.
I'm running and my heart is racing and I'm hearing, "We're going to get you. We're going to get you." I've fallen like 3 times at this point. And I could just imagine what other fucking people are seeing, like looking out their window, just like on their porch, just like, what the fuck is this fat white kid doing right now? So I get there and like I open the screen door and I like burst the door open, right? Because I'm just freaking out so much. And I open the door and they're not home. And I'm like, oh my God, thank God. Like, I'm so happy that they're not home. So I run into my room, and the room I was staying in, because it was a really small house, was probably like a little bit bigger than like a jail cell. So I had a bed, a computer, and like a TV, and then this small dresser that I had all my clothes in. And I go into the corner of the room where the dresser is, and I'm just sitting there like fucking panicking, sweating, and I'm just in the corner, and like I hear all the things outside just saying, "We're gonna get you," and then everything stops. And then I'm like, "Oh, okay, cool." And I open my eyes, but everything in my room is gone. I don't have a mattress. I don't have any of my stuff. And I was just like, what the fuck is happening? And then the next thing, the house starts to rumble. The roof rips off. A giant red hand reaches in with like a laugh. I shit my pants. The trip ends. And I go to the bathroom and I clean myself off.
Dear God.
I'm 90% positive that was LSD. Because if you take LSD and you get your heart rate up, it's going to make you start to see crazier shit.
Start to trip a little harder.
And then I did find out that what they do for shrooms in like Midwestern areas is they will just take mushrooms from the store, cook them in an oven, and lace them with LSD.
Nice. Simulate mushroom experiences.
Yeah. So you're getting an entirely different high because mushroom is all like this mind high, like everything's fun and chill. And you take LSD, it's a fucking body high. And you wake up the next day and you're like, I don't want to move anymore.
Like shit in your
You know?
pants.
Yeah, exactly. So I shit my pants and I went and cleaned myself off, and then they came home and like, oh, we're sorry, we got hung up at work. And I was like, it's fine. I'm just gonna go sleep for a week.
Yeah. Did you have like a bad hangover from that? How does that
it was like
work?
it was like a 3-day thing where I just was like not right. Like Friday. Have you seen Friday?
Yeah.
Where Smokey's kind of like has that twitch.
Yeah.
Like I kind of had a pretty similar like thing to where I thought thing was like on my shoulder and stuff like that.
God.
So
like, when is this gonna go away?
Yeah.
It's day 3.
Yeah. So and then by like day 3 I started to feel a little bit normal and like my appetite was back and like stuff like that. But yeah, like that shit fucked me up. And my friends were like, "Nah, man, we had like a great time. We just felt like kind of crummy the next day." And I was like, "Those are not shrooms that I've ever had before."
Yeah.
So
Nice.
I took too much, man.
yeah.
Wow.
So
drug
just going
problem.
off of what you're saying, that is also the drug problem there too, and that's how fentanyl becomes an issue as well, because people will just lie. Be like, yeah, no, this shit's all pure, baby. Here you go. And it's just like, thanks. I took half a snort and I'm dead.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a problem.
Yeah.
That's a problem. I think we need another round of war on drugs. Let's go.
Yeah.
Okay.
You guys want to talk about Reagan?
Not. Reagan? Yeah, let's go down that wormhole.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for being on, man. I
Yeah,
really
man.
appreciate you sharing all the things that you've said. Like I said in the beginning, you have some pretty crazy stories, and
I have many more. So if I ever come back, I'll be
we'll
happy to
have you on
We can
again.
deep dive into my life and we can dissect it.
For sure.
We'll dissect it. We'll
Yeah.
figure out what's wrong. We'll like bring out a box of tissues. We can
Yeah.
have you break down and cry.
Oh, I probably won't cry, but yeah, we can do it.
Well,
Well,
it's
maybe.
power podcasting.
Yeah.
I
talk about my life quite a lot. So.
is Russell still around?
Yeah, he's right over there.
Russell?
Hey, buddy.
Are you alive?
Hey, man. Hey, you wanna hop on for like 5 minutes?
Yeah.
He's sleeping.
He's like, he drove a long
Well, yeah, AJ,
time.
yeah.
AJ.
For real, it was awesome talking with
Yes.
you. Thanks
Yeah.
for talking about the chiropractic stuff.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
really
And
it was
appreciate
really
it.
informative.
No disrespect at all
No,
to
it's
what
cool.
you're doing.
Once I get finished more with like school, and once I become a full chiropractor, and I finish most of the things that I want to do and learn everything, I will have a more scientific discussion with you guys. But
That'd
right
be dope.
now,
We'll have you back. Yeah.
I just don't know enough, and I'm just gonna sound like a fucking idiot.
no.
one needs that,
I think you did a really good job
Yeah.
defending
I
a lot of.
I was
the skepticism.
really interested in seeing how you would react and seeing what kind of counter arguments you could bring up, and they were good.
Oh,
I-
well, thank you.
I think it was like people will enjoy it.
Yeah, and like you said, there's just a lot of like misinformation, and well, not but just a lot of like, I guess statements,
Stigma
Yeah.
to
stigmas,
it.
It's just a huge
stigma.
stigma.
There you go.
Yeah.
About it being a pseudoscience, and Palmer's a crazy lunatic.
Yeah.
Madman.
Probably does a lot of mushrooms. and
Oh,
LSD.
quick question about Palmer.
Yeah.
He claims in his like memoir autobiography that the science came to him through a seance.
Yeah.
Like with the ghost and the ghost.
It
like-
didn't. I mean, in my opinion, it didn't come to him through a séance. So, like back in his time, that was when a lot of like Chinese people were coming. and
Okay,
they
so he
were
probably
working-
got it from one of them.
They were working on railroads and stuff like that. But as most, I don't want to like do that. But as most white men will do, they'll try to claim something as their own.
Appropriation.
Yeah, I mean, Book of Mormon style.
Yep.
So he tried to do that, and but I'm sure he met somebody because he was a magnet dude, so it's pretty much a snake oil salesman. So he would just go around people, and like if he could get money from you to do what he was doing, then he would do it.
Yeah.
So I'm sure he talked to people who were from China who probably who learned English enough to talk to him about it, and was like, "This is what I used to do back."
Yeah. He's
Where
like,
I'm
oh, you have
from.
a back problem, Mr. Palmer?
Yeah, he's like, "I
Let
can
me show
help
you what I
out."
can do.
Yeah.
He's like, this is great. I'm gonna run with this shit.
Yeah,
So
I'm gonna
where'd
go
you
make
learn
someone
it?
here.
As a ghost.
Yeah.
Cool. All
All
right.
right.
Russell. Oh my god.
Oh,
Hey,
Russell,
just,
what are you doing?
Vomited on him. Looks like Russell has the most adorable sweater on right now.
sweater. A little sweaty. Jesus Christ.
It's the waterworks.
Wipe it on your sweater. Are you wearing that the whole week?
I'm wearing this sweater every day.
Nice. Hey, so
When we decided to go skiing, I was like, I 1000% need to wear this sweater in the ski lodge. This is the ski lodge sweater.
next to the fire.
Yeah, right on the bear
Awesome.
pelt. I'm just gonna lay there. No pants, just the sweater.
So, how do you think you're gonna do on the mountain skiing?
Oh, I'm gonna do terribly.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a freaking nightmare.
Have you ever been skiing or
I have
snowboarding?
never been skiing. I've never been snowboarding. I've barely been in a city where it snows. Like I might have been somewhere where it snowed for like a day, and then like I was like on my way out. Like last time I was here,
Yeah.
my airport. Well, my airport. I'm drunk.
Russell International.
When we were leaving, it was raining, snowing. I was like, I gotta get out of here.
Yeah.
So went
Oh, yeah,
back to
that's right.
the south.
It's snowing in Atlanta, or did
It did
right?
snow, and I didn't realize that because I was in Florida, and then when I got back, I was like, oh, I had a layover in Atlanta on the way to St. Louis to meet up with AJ, and I heard a guy in the airport bar being like, yeah, it snowed here the other day. And I was like, the hell?
Yeah. You were like, wait, I flew into Colorado?
I was like, oh, man. But yeah, no, I'm pumped for the ski trip, man.
Can you GoPro this, please? Because I need to see footage of you.
You know what? Let me
skiing.
borrow a GoPro, and I'll do that for you.
Wow, this is really low budget trip, isn't it? You got to go with 7 GoPros. I just see you with like 2 like sticks like, going down the mountain. Hey, it's your boy Russell.
I'm gonna have a guy ski next to me with like a mic boomstick, just like get perfect audio down the mountain.
Nice.
So are you gonna get lessons or like some kind of instruction?
So. AJ was telling me that the package for it is like partially like it could include like a 30-minute like beginner's course, and I was like, our other buddy Will, who's coming with us, he's like, I don't need it. And he's like,
Nice.
he's never like been out of Florida in like, I don't know, 15 years.
Yeah.
So
Classic Florida man.
yeah, he's just like, I can do whatever I want.
So pro tip from someone who's gone 2 times,
Yeah.
just get the fuck up there and just go down.
Yeah.
Don't
do that.
wait,
Avoid the trees. That's all you got to know.
so you just go down?
Yeah, you just
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I
Gravity's
just
a
thought-
thing.
It's pretty
I
much
think-
vertical. You
Yeah.
just get
I
to
thought
the
it was
top.
more like just like perpendicular to the mountain.
No,
you just
no,
kind of
no,
go
no.
out.
So you
in
wouldn't.
some places.
Some places. Yeah, it's like if you're in Australia, it's the opposite way.
Yeah,
Upside down.
Well,
yeah.
because they're on the bottom of the earth, so it would go upside down. You know what I mean?
No.
Question.
Can you actually? We're gonna need a globe.
In the southern hemisphere, does the water spin the opposite way in the toilet when it flushes?
I think it
think it
does.
does.
I think people were like, "Oh, what if you're on the equator? Just go straight down." Like that's not a thing. Like,
How do you know?
It goes
Have
back
you ever
and
been
forth.
to the equator,
Back
Russell?
and
has
forth.
anyone ever been to the equator?
No,
What's on the equator? Nothing.
there is no
One part of
equator.
Africa.
This is a flat Earth. We're living in a
Oh,
flat Earth
shit.
society. Here.
Exactly. Split it the other way. It's flat. Just
Right down the middle,
because it's
baby.
flat doesn't mean it has some third dimension there.
True. Good point.
So I've heard like Jackson Hole is like kind of like a Richie area.
You know,
Is that,
I've got a buddy who I'm just like going on a complete tangent. I'm just like, yeah, I got a buddy who sells whale oil. It's,
Yeah, yeah.
it's just like complete-
Ferraris.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he's originally from Oregon, and he goes skiing all the time. And he's like, Jackson Hole is like one of my favorite places. And this guy is a guy I work with, and he's always like in North Face jackets and like top end stuff. And I'm like, okay. He drives like this super, super nice Mustang. Like,
you always see in the movies, it's like the rich guy and the CEO on the private jet. We're gonna stop in at Jackson Hole on the way over.
hit the slopes,
Yeah,
you
hit
know.
the slopes.
I think
So-
I think you can compare it to like Aspen or something.
Yeah,
you know?
I guess so. That's
it's
true.
just
Yeah.
it's not super easy to get to.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's a lot of wealthy people who have homes there.
And
There's a lot of
they'll
wealthy
just fly
people
into
who
the
travel
regional
there.
airport there, like
Yeah.
in Aspen.
They
Yeah.
do have an airport right there.
You can fly from Denver to Aspen. It's like a 30-minute ride. It's pretty nice.
Really? Oh,
Yeah.
wow. That's not bad at all.
Yeah. So I'm just like I'm having this picture of Russell on the mountain in the stereotypical '80s movie, like skier
We've been Johnny
showdown.
Tsunami this like whole trip. We were just like, we got to plan it. It's like we should probably snowboard because like it's more, it's more like Johnny Tsunami.
Yeah.
But,
Shred the gnar.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Are you snowboarding?
Huh?
Are you snowboarding?
We might, I don't know. People tell me that like snowboarding's like a much steeper learning curve than
Yeah.
skiing. And so I'm like, I want to have fun. If I'm going to be there and spend all this money, I bought this fucking ski jacket, ski pants. I'm getting the long johns. I even bought those little fucking foot warmers, like the hot hands.
Oh, yeah,
But you
yeah.
put them, foot insoles. And they wouldn't even let me take. I have to rebuy them though because they didn't let me put them on the plane. I had them in my carry-on. They're like,
'Cause
these
they're
have
liquid?
gels, and they made me throw them away.
They caught it through the scanner. And
yeah,
everything?
they were like, yeah, what the hell's in here? And I was like, PlayStation.
Please.
Yeah, and I was just like, cool. It's like always the one brown guy, always getting picked up at Fort Myers Airport. But they were, they were nice about it. They were just like, yeah, you can check this whole bag, and I'm like, is it free? And they were like, no. So I was like, just toss them. They're like $5. I'll get new ones.
Yeah, honestly, like the boots really do a good job of insulating. So I never find that I need to add any of that. Depending on how cold it is, and if it's wind, maybe one
Yeah.
on your chest, maybe some in your gloves, depending on how much of a bitch you are.
My Oregon buddy was literally he's like, if you want the foot warmers, you're not a pussy. Trust me, it's like totally worth it. It feels great. You love me.
Did you get
I
wool
guess.
socks?
I did. I got like special insulated socks. You know, I made sure to get like, you know, I forgot it was like they have like weird measurements for like waterproofness that I didn't know about. It's like, oh yeah, this handle's like 10,000 millimeters or whatever. It's like it's not millimeters, like mm. I don't know what it means. Just like
Mommeters.
That's just something that they invented to sell higher costs.
yeah. Well, that's it. Yeah. And so, but I found some on Amazon and stuff. AJ, you know, he's the kind of guy who like will just see something and it's like, okay, that looks good, and buy it.
Yeah.
And he bought some gloves, some mittens, ski gloves, and he put them on and he was just like slid them on and they immediately broke.
Oh, God.
And we look it up and he's like, dude, this has 10 reviews on Amazon. It's like, I don't buy anything with less than 1,000 reviews at all.
Oh, damn. That's a pretty high bar.
Yeah, well, you know, I'm a savvy shopper.
I kind of agree with that because there's a lot of times there's so many of the same product.
Yeah.
And then you find one with like 300 reviews and you're like, why would I buy this?
Yeah, I mean, you'd think that, I mean, Amazon does kind of do that. I mean, like, I'm sure you would know that because, you know, in the back end, you know, when they do those like recommended things, it's also based off of like your own cookies and your own like online IDs. I'm not going back into my podcast and talking about like tracking data.
Please talk more about economics.
But it's just like you think there'd be like a much clearer way of like, okay, let's weight the scores by the amounts. You know, it's like the amount of scores that are there. You know, because it's like, you know, one review that's 5 stars is nowhere as important as 5 stars with 5,000 reviews. You know,
That's true. Have you ever bought anything and it's come like the next day or the same day?
oh no.
I don't think I have either.
Oh, goodbye.
It's always next day. I don't think I've ever gotten.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever
gotten.
gotten same day. Have you guys ever like? Are the drones a thing here, or like?
No, I think they just got approved by the FAA, but they actually haven't started utilizing them. I don't think. Yeah, they just
Because
got
like
approved.
everybody makes fun of the drones, like, you know, South Park and like all those, you know, Family Guy, all these shows, and it's like I've never seen a drone. I'm starting to think it's a conspiracy.
Ever no drones.
Yeah, no drones
It's like
at all.
Walmart, just like this is their like attack ads.
Yeah.
They're like, yeah, look how stupid these drones are. Get your shit out of our store, brick and mortar.
Have you seen the videos of like the football field of just all drones, and then they all lift up and they do synchronized night light shows?
Oh yeah, I've seen those.
I can't imagine. Like who
Did
who
they
is-
use that at the Biden's like election
victory
thing?
I don't
Yeah, I
know.
watched that. and
victory yet, guys. Come on.
It's controversial.
True. Okay, I'm sorry.
Trump won big.
Alleged
Yeah.
victory.
Yeah, alleged victory.
Yeah, they had. I thought they were fireworks at first, but they were just way too perfect to be fireworks.
I'm getting notes from my manager that we need to call it quits.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think we're getting paid for this extra time.
Oh man, sorry, I didn't mean to.
No,
Wait, did Delta cancel the?
the ad revenue. Are we getting demonetized by having Russell on?
Well, you know, I'm.
You an agent
I
provocateur.
got a lot of hot takes, so people don't really want to back. You know.
All right, I guess we'll
You know.
wrap it up.
Yeah,
Thank you,
sounds
Russell,
good.
for being
Yeah,
on
thanks,
in a
Russell.
short amount of time.
Yeah, of course.
Thanks
I
for
love these
co-hosting
little,
for like
these
a
little
minute.
mini episodes.
Yeah.
Should do these more often.
All right, thank you, everybody. Merry Christmas. Happy New
Christmas.
Year. Until next time, adios.